This illuminating full super buck moon, 11 degrees Capricorn, on Monday, July 3rd, is a supermoon. This is when the moon is closest to the Earth in its orbit, which means it's going to be not only bigger and brighter, it'll have a much stronger gravitational pull and effect on us. Hi, I'm Jenny Kern from J. Kernifer Astrology. Welcome back to J. Kernifer Astrology, where we're building a community of cosmic collaborators through the comments section below, exploring themes of personal transformation through the medium of astrology, which helps us unearth self-limiting patterns that we may still be unconscious of. Today, we'll be exploring the themes of this full super buck moon, 11 degrees Capricorn, with Pholus, and also Pluto retrograde at 29 degrees, a double dose of Plutonic energy there with the 29th degree, intensifying the energy. We'll explore the major aspects involved and how to best work with the energy rather than against it. It's happening Monday, July 3rd, 2023, Moon Day, which peaks at 7:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As a reminder, you can feel the effects of these transits 3 days prior and after. Depending on how much Aquarius energy you have in your chart, you may experience things earlier. It all depends on how sensitive and intuitive you are, and what's aspected to you personally in your individual and personal natal or birth chart. To quickly review, the full moon is the final phase in the moon's 29.53 day monthly cycle and 6-month cycle, when the moon is 100% illuminated or full. It's full because it's reflecting the light of the sun, much like a mirror. This is due to its opposite positioning in the sky or universe from the sun, able to act as a reflector. This symbolizes illumination, an unearthing of something that's been hidden or secret or kept in the dark. It usually brings clarity and closure. In the case of this super buck moon occurring during Cancer season, which is from June 21st until July 22nd, occurring at 11 degrees Capricorn where the moon is, means that the sun is in Cancer while the moon is opposite in Capricorn, which is a sign of detriment for the moon. More on that in a bit. This opposition, or 180-degree angle, is challenging and similar to the 90-degree square, which calls for an integration of two seemingly opposing energies. They may feel as though they conflict within your chart, and you may attract people in your life with whom you have conflict with that share these energetic patterns that are meant to mirror them back to you and show them what needs to be looked at within the self. So this 180-degree opposition and this 90-degree square call for an integration or balance of two seemingly conflicting or opposing energies. Opposites involve other people, while squares tend to be more internalized and personal. In the sign of Cancer, we have Juno, our long-term commitments. As a reminder, Juno is Jupiter's wife, so where it's placed in a natal chart can indicate the energy we're drawn to on an unconscious or subconscious level of our soulmates, of the people we end up committing our energy and time and focus to in the long term. Juno is conjunct the sun, our soul's core expression and mission, which is focused and also merged with Mercury in the sign of Cancer. Mercury's closing in on the sun, and then Mercury will pass the sun, but the two will be in conjunction or alignment for a couple of weeks. That conjunction is very beneficial. When it's in someone's natal chart, they're usually highly creative no matter what sign it's in. With the sun and Mercury, your conscious logical mind and your communication and thought patterns. Mercury in Cancer is going to have more Cancer themes. So remember, the planets tell us the what, the energy shows us the how, or the energetic pattern you might see play out, and then the house where it falls individually in your natal chart based on your unique birth time and location indicates how it might manifest for you personally. That's the work we do as astrologers. So those three signs, your long-term commitments, your conscious focus of your energy, and your conscious logical mind, all working together in the sign of Cancer, which is a very sentimental, nostalgic, family-oriented, security-oriented. It's a bit sensitive, so think of its glyph. It's the crab. The crab has a hard exterior, yeah, but only because it has a very soft interior that it must protect. So similarly, those with Cancer energy, they're very family-oriented, very protective, but they're deeply sensitive, they're deeply sentimental. They're a bit past-oriented, which can lead them to be, the water signs in general general can be a little bit more prone to depression because of the past focus. And that's a large part of what we'll get into for the themes of this full moon, is releasing those blocks to abundance, those blocks, those self-sabotaging patterns. Look at the patterns of what you're experiencing. What karmic lessons might you, whether you believe in karma or not, what karmic lessons might you be able to find? Repetitive patterns. Look for the patterns. Look for the lessons, and then step into the energy of Capricorn. Moon in Capricorn might be in its detriment, but only because it has difficulty accessing its deepest emotions. Difficulty not only accessing it, but expressing them. And with Pholus, there's some type of large wound there. And Pluto at 29 degrees, a very critical and vulnerable part, retrograde, affecting us highly internally, affecting our personal transformation. Pluto, come on up, sweetie. This is like our soul is at conflict, our personal transformation, what our soul really longs for, with what we might be consciously putting our energy into day to day, something involving these long-term commitments, be it to a family or a career or something we might be. Cancer has difficulty with boundaries, and we do have Saturn involved in this, Saturn in Pisces, weak boundaries as well. So we might be enmeshed in situations, and we might need to look into what limiting thought patterns are keeping us stuck in these situations, where we might keep more of an open mind. So these placements in the sign of Cancer are actually answering to the moon, since the moon rules Cancer energy. Answering to a moon in detriment in Capricorn. So it's weakened, it has a harder time accessing and expressing its emotions, and it's under Saturn's really serious influence. Saturn's energy being diluted while it's in Pisces and answering to both Neptune in Pisces and Jupiter in Venus. Normally a very strict, stoic, harsh, detached energy, now being asked to blend with your spiritual side. Soften it, find the balance between the two. Capricorn has the glyph of the sea goat. So yes, the goat that climbs and builds step by step, laying foundations and bricks and methodical processes, but the sea goat that has a serpent or fishtail. So it's half land, half water, meaning although it wants you to think it doesn't have deeper emotions, it doesn't mean they aren't there. So back to Cancer energy in the moon. Family oriented, more of a homebody, similar to Taurus in that way. Safety and security oriented. Home, family, and ancestral roots are of utmost importance, especially as passed via maternal line or the primary nurturer, which is usually the maternal figure, but not always. It's deeply sensitive, empathetic, nostalgic, and sentimental, with a tendency to cling and hold on to things or hoard emotionally. Very past oriented, like we said before, has trouble letting go. That crab has claws. Because it's deeply sensitive, it can struggle with taking things too personally. And I'd be willing to bet if you have a Cancer in your life, they likely prefer animals to people, and they're highly skilled with animals. I've found that Cancers are so deeply intuitive, it can almost feel the feelings of others. In the spiritual community, we call this clairsentience. In the more logical community, it's like having this very acute attention to detail. And maybe you grew up in a traumatic household like I did, where you were put in a position to caretake for a parent instead of the parent caretaking for you, where you had to attune to their every little mood and every little shift in mood, teaching you to become aware of that in other people, but also conditioning you for a pattern of putting others before yourself that you have to unlearn. This is because it needs boundaries. Like Libra, like Pisces, Cancer is conflict avoidant, sometimes absorbs things that aren't even theirs, which can put them in a position where they're being projected upon or used emotionally by others, narcissists. These projections, this trauma in others that they're projecting onto you and trying to make your problem instead of them taking the accountability to do the work to heal it, are all around you right now, especially with Pluto in Capricorn. Remain mindful of what you're absorbing. Cancer rules the home, so your focus and attention will and should be, as you lean into this energy, on the home and family. It can be your soul family. Family can be what you make of it. It might even be closer than your blood family. It includes your physical body, what you're eating, consuming, what you're putting into it. These forces are working against our moon, our emotional comfort-seeking nature, in detriment in Capricorn, with Pholus and Pluto expanding that energy, intensifying it. Pluto unearths, so it's not for our highest good, by destroying it, breaking it down, so that we can emerge stronger, like the phoenix rising from the ashes, while the moon illuminates. Whatever's being unearthed is going to be big. Pluto in Capricorn is transforming our ambitions, our long-term goals. For some of us, our careers, and down to a personal level, gradual. You'll see this will have happened since 2008 over time. Your views on money might have changed and evolved. Your definition of success you may have fallen for the paradigms that were projected to you by older generations and felt that you had to fit a specific or strict mold, and you might have fallen off of your soul purpose because of that. But we're coming into awareness of what that soul purpose is so that we can connect with that and do work that not only provides meaning and wealth in a more evenly distributed way, it leads to an overall happier energy. As we're seeing with the internet and social media, this energetic exchange is instantaneous. A lot of these definitions of success might have been pushed upon us by the media, the government, big business, hierarchical structures that are focused on wealth, greed, control, and power, and not necessarily prioritizing the common good over profit. This is shadow Capricorn energy. And if you've experienced it, you're experiencing a taste of what Pluto and Capricorn was here to teach us. Under this buck moon, we're releasing blocks to deeper emotions, empathy, and intuition, especially self-imposed ones with Saturn in Pisces. The buck moon is the name for the full moon in July in the northern hemisphere when young bucks first sprout antlers. It's a sign of their impending autonomy and independence and readiness to break from the group onto their own. It's a symbol that we're meant to step into personal accountability and responsibility, integrity. We have the North Node shifting signs in just 2 weeks. So our collective focus of our energy, the North Node is like the North Pole of the moon. It's not actually a body, a planetary body. It's a geographical point based on the moon's location. It's considered the North Pole of the moon, the South Node being the South Node of the moon. So wherever it is, it's in that sign. It takes a year and a half to travel through the energy of that sign. So it's been in Taurus, teaching us what we really value, bringing us down to remove things that are superficial, like materialism and wealth and greed, and showing us that that truly doesn't make one happy in the end. That was North Node in Taurus. We're in the final 2 weeks of that energy with a lot of squares, with some squares to Pluto and Jupiter still in conjunction with the North Node expanding it. This square is getting more intense because the North Nodes are always backwards. They always are retrograde. They go from 1 degree, 0 degree Taurus to 29 degrees Aries, and always opposite will be the South Node, Libra. That'll be our collective karmic lessons and what we're collectively shedding. The South Node you can consider a secondary moon sign. It's going to be a very comfortable energy and something that your ego, when triggered, resorts to. So you'll see a lot of layers of ego and ego healing by examining that South Node. When the South Node's in Libra, it'll be answering to Venus, and it'll be highly focused on what we love and value: peace, harmony, balance, not only in our home atmosphere, but in our social interactions. We have Jupiter in Taurus, answering to Venus, expanding that energy and realigning our values with what means the most to us, while Uranus in Taurus throws curveballs. It likes to break us free of stagnation and free us from limitation and realign us with Pluto, that soul purpose. So while Pluto is transforming our careers and our ambitions, Uranus is throwing us curveballs in a trine to it. So in the same energy element, Earth, really affecting our resources, our values. Uranus throwing curveballs in Taurus at our money, our resources, our food, our one-on-one relationships, unexpected events. That's Uranus, but it's not a bad guy. It's not a malicious figure. It wants to realign you. So depending on how aligned you are and how much Aquarius or Uranus energy you have in your chart, how highly aspected it is, you may or may not change. Constant change may be something you're used to. And it may be something that, because it happens all the time, that's the universe telling you you're meant to embrace it. You're meant to go with the flow and release some of that fixed energy. So this North Node shifting into Aries is going to be a focus on preserving our personal liberties, independence, and creating more overall autonomy, while we have Chiron, our deepest soul wounds there, that are childhood wounds, core wounds that are related to not feeling enough. So because we don't feel enough, we fall into patterns where we're giving away our power. And that's a lot of what this full moon is helping to illuminate for us, areas where we do disempower ourselves, so that through awareness, which leads to control, we can break free of those patterns and evolve and grow into our higher conscious selves. So because Capricorn is the goat, laying the foundation and building brick by brick, ask yourself, what are you building long term and where are you aligned? Because it's a full moon, it's a culmination of a 6-month cycle, like we said. We're harvesting seeds that were planted, seeds of intention that were planted under the new moon in Capricorn, which was just 2 days after the winter solstice in 2022. This was on Friday, December 23rd, 2022. The new moon was at 1 degree of Capricorn. Hi, sweetie. Let's rewind a bit to that new moon and let's see what we were working on. So the new moon, 1 degree Capricorn, occurred on Friday, December 23rd, 2022. It was the final lunation of the 2022 calendar year. At 1 degree, it's a double emphasis on new or Aries, brand new baby, excited, full of energy. Just days after the winter solstice, which was on 12/21 here in the Northern Hemisphere. We were called to reflect on our careers and ambitions, their alignment with soul work and soul purpose, and authenticity, and making any necessary pivots to our long-term goals, reflecting our evolving values as we prepared for the Pluto in Aquarius age of Aquarius, which is an overall alignment of a personal value system with one's authentic soul purpose. This is all square to Jupiter for the next year in Taurus, expansion and wisdom, and also Chiron, the asteroid representing our deepest soul wounds, in Aries, bringing triggers of that deep core wounding of feeling enough up to the surface for us to bring to the light and heal through consciousness. This was with Mercury during a Mercury retrograde, pre-shadow. So just a little, the pre-shadow is always a couple weeks before the Mercury retrograde. We bookended that year, so this year, 2023, with a Mercury retrograde in Capricorn. Both we begin this year and end this year. It started at the tail end of December in 2022. So yeah, December 29th, 2022. So right at the tail end there, we had a Mercury retrograde through Capricorn. And if yours was anything like mine, it was like absolute chaos for technology. I can't tell you how many times I went to the Apple store that week. It brought a lot of miscommunications, especially involving tech that directly affected work, because Venus was also there, affecting what we love and value and the work we do. And Pluto, also there, 27 degrees, which is the exact degree this Pluto retrograde will end and then return direct in late September, October. This is asking us to reflect on past situations where we set ourselves up for disempowering situations, or we gave our power away, where there were imbalanced power dynamics on either end. Either we were the one who gave our power away and fell victim, or we were the one doing the manipulation of energy exchange and power and did intentionally the taking. Either side of that imbalance, we're now asked to look at that, reflect upon it, and try to find center the best we can. This was all during a Mars retrograde through Gemini, which brought a lot of that feeling, and Mars in Gemini being really communicative, its outward expression of energy, bringing a lot of those triggers to the surface so that we really could heal, not only become aware, but we could heal them. Now, 6 months later, we're called to integrate under this full moon and reflect as we deconstruct past Capricornian and shadow capitalist, greedy, power, and control obsessed society paradigms, and shift into new, more Aquarian, humanitarian, collectively focused ways of being, and how to put these ideas into practice. Saturn in Pisces. This sense of completion. So wherever you have, pull out your natal chart, wherever you have 11 degrees Capricorn in your personal natal chart, this is master number 11, 11 degrees associated with Aquarian humanitarian energy, connected to the spiritual plane and collective unconsciousness. If you have anything at 11 degrees or 22 degrees like myself, you are likely driven on a soul level to achieve something, some project, some creation that you feel is bigger than yourself. And that impacts the collective or your local community, be it small, be it large or global, and anywhere in between on some level. You might have felt this since you were a child. That's your soul calling you. As a reminder, whatever planet you have there shows you the what. The more personal the planet, the more impactful, and the more that energy or that planet is aspected in your chart personally, the more it will impact you. So there are a lot of layers there that you would work with an astrologist to help walk you through. And it's more than one. The sign, the constellation it's in, shows you the energetic pattern or how you may see the energy play out. And the house, a specific degree where it falls based on your unique birth time and location, which determines your astrology chart, your natal chart, birth chart, can give you clues and indications of the life areas that you may see impacted. Again, all depending on what's in your chart and how it's aspected. So you can use a standard deviation of however large you choose, but 5 degrees seems to be one that a lot of astrologers use. This means that we can look where we have 6 degrees to 16 degrees, so 5 less, 5 more than 11 on either side of the cardinal signs, which will either be conjunct this full moon, square, or opposite, all challenging positions for a full moon. Starting with Cancer, because it's your season, happy birthday. Look 6 to 16 degrees of Cancer. You'll feel this the most. This is going to be where Juno, your long-term commitments, Sun, so the transits, and Mercury all are visiting. For a lot of you Cancers, you're having a return of not only your Sun, but also your Mercury. A lot of you have this highly creative, intuitive energy automatically. It's a pattern the Sun and Mercury fall into because Mercury always stays within 1 degree, 1 sign, not 1 degree, 1 sign, 1 constellation of the Sun. So it can either be right there with it or up to 1 sign away, but you'll never see Mercury be more than 1. Cardinal energy, whenever you hear that, you can think initiating. So just replace that cardinal with initiating. Cardinal is kind of, I guess, old-fashioned, but it is really good at starting things, initiating. We have Cancer, which initiates summer in the northern hemisphere, winter if you're in the southern hemisphere. It's the summer solstice here where I live, the first day of Cancer season. And that's because it's cardinal water, initiating water. Water representing emotion, initiating emotionally through its sensitivity, sentimentality, and deep intuition. Its ability to read people energetically through their emotions, their sentience. Opposite that, so where the moon, Pluto, and Pholus are 6 to 16 degrees of Capricorn especially impacted, is cardinal earth energy. That initiates the opposite season. So where I live, the winter solstice, opposite if you're in the southern hemisphere, but you get it. They're initiating in their work and through their work ethic and their drive, modeling that energy for others. This is forming squares. So we just covered the conjunctions and the oppositions. This is forming squares to wherever you have 6 to 16 degrees Aries. Cardinal fire energy. It's pioneering and initiating through its energy and its creativity alone. Very youthful in that way. Here where I live, it's the spring equinox, and it's opposite Libra, 6 to 16 degrees. Cardinal air, so it's initiating socially. Libra, focused on creating social harmony and justice. It's a very chameleon energy, probably the hardest to read because whatever the group needs, it senses it and it becomes it. So I have a lot of this energy. I understand it. It can come off manipulative if the intentions are deceitful or manipulative, but it genuinely wants to avoid conflict and create balance and harmony. It's not even conscious of this. So in situations, it will fill the void. It will not only sense the void on an intuitive level, it'll fill it. So there are groups of friends where I am the leader, people follow, and there are groups of friends maybe from the past when I didn't have as much of this assertive energy out in my outward personality where I'm more of the follower. And that really, it's like a chameleon. This full moon is bringing a big surrender. It's asking you to release self-limiting patterns, especially thought patterns, and ways that you're blocking your own creativity, intuition, and abundance. It's my dad, he's okay. We're realizing where we might have in the past or are currently in situations where we're being used or we're feeling disempowered or perhaps even exploited. Maybe we've lit the candle on both ends, trying to reach that promise of promotion at the end. We might have fallen for hustle culture, but now we're cutting through illusion and delusion, releasing past imbalanced exchanges of energy, especially involving our interpersonal one-on-one relationships, which again can be romantic, platonic. It can be the partnership between boss and employee or business partner and business partner. That's all Libra. All require social balance, equitable exchanges. Let's dive into the aspects involved. We have Juno, the Sun, and Mercury all in Cancer, opposite the Moon, Pholus, and Pluto, retrograde at 29 degrees, Capricorn. Those working against one another, forming a square to Chiron in Aries. So this is asking us, how do we honor our true authentic feelings, Cancer, by bringing them into reality in pragmatic form, Saturn, Capricorn. We have a lot of energy focused creatively. We have Saturn and Neptune encouraging us to work on our boundaries and ways that we block our intuition, creativity, and to tap into that really magical Neptune and Pisces creative flow, with also Venus in Leo for a long time, helping our feminine side, our yin, our more receptive energies internally tap into that creative. Leo incarnated for creative self-expression and for heart-centered leadership. So we're releasing blocks to the heart, ways that we've blocked love opportunities maybe, or job opportunities because we didn't feel we were enough with its trine to Chiron. That is with Black Moon Lilith, Mars, and Pallas Athena. Mars and Pallas Athena are partners. They're husband and wife. Black Moon Lilith is the shadow side of the moon, so also not an actual planetary body, but a geographical point representing the moon's furthest point in its orbit, its shadow, the dark side of the moon. This placement in your natal chart will show you where you fall into energetic patterns. The sign it's in will show you those patterns, and put yourself in disempowering situations. These transits are encouraging us to use our intuition, to dare to dream, and to be creative. Mars, that outward expression of our energy, our motivation and drive. In Leo with Venus. Beautiful, a little bit dramatic, and it takes things really personally, but if you work with that energy, if you find ways to let those emotions out, you'll be amazed at what you can create that might later come back and be profitable. A work of art, a song, anything. Under these transits, we're being guided to do the healing work. This is because triggers are being brought to the light of consciousness for attention and healing. Remember that glyph of Cancer, that crab that has a tendency to cling and hold on to things emotionally, especially a nostalgia for the past? It's this like crabs in a bucket energy. It's what it comes from, these crabs having a tendency to not only hold themselves back, but hold each other back through a more pessimistic or a past-focused lens. No fault of their own. But you can't manifest the right partner if you're still emotionally tied to, hung up on a past partner. You have to do the work to heal that. And I can tell you from personal experience, when you're dating somebody who's still tied up on their ex, you can feel that. You can feel the constant comparison and the way that they skirt around the topic and dodge it. And that being a pattern and showing you where they avoid other things and neglect emotional work. Pay attention to those signs. So this is all while Pluto retrograde at 29 degrees of Capricorn is helping us release past paradigms and shift into the age of Aquarius. It's forming a trine to Uranus. Come on, sweetie. Pluto is forming a trine to Uranus. And this will be building for the next couple months. At 21 degrees, and it's sextile to Neptune, which also moves really slowly, at 27 degrees retrograde through Pisces. So while Pluto in Capricorn is deconstructing imbalanced paradigms imposed by a predominantly patriarchal society and culture where power, control, and greed have really taken the forefront of our attention, wealth obsession, materialism have become more important than how we treat one another, and whether how we treat others is aligned on a personal value system, or where we might be spreading unresolved pain and trauma onto others through remaining unconscious of our actions and reacting, as opposed to consciously responding. These are ways that pain, greed, and manipulation are spread instead of light and love. Pluto in Capricorn is transforming our long-term goals, like we said. Our ambitions, some of us, are actual careers, and how we define success down to our personal values. It may also be transforming for many of us our public image and overall reputation. We're aligning our personal definitions of success with our personal value systems. We're asked to integrate. These personal values are evolving with Jupiter, the North Node, and Uranus all in Taurus, answering to Venus, what we love and value. Taurus directly ruling our money, our resources. We're learning under this transit, especially Jupiter and North Node in Taurus, that money cannot buy happiness. Only a full, grateful heart truly can. If you want a life aligned with higher consciousness, you need to lead with integrity and soul purpose. We're shifting out of hustle culture by reminding ourselves of what's truly important. This is while Uranus in Taurus is throwing curveballs at what we love and value, for some of us the work that we did or do, especially while it's in a square to everything in Leo, especially around the 22 to 25 degree point where Venus and Mars are at this transit. Uranus trine Pluto, so we'll talk a little bit deeper about that. Uranus at 21 degrees, it'll progress to 22 degrees in July, on July 8th, and then it'll be in loose conjunction until December, because Uranus will also go into a retrograde while Pluto's already in a retrograde. So Pluto, 29 degrees of Capricorn, will be 29 degrees of Capricorn in July. By late August, it'll be 28 degrees. By very late September, 27 degrees. Early October, it returns direct, 27 degrees, Capricorn. And in November, 28 degrees again. 29 degrees on 12/20/2023 for the last time while it progresses forward through Aquarius. So the conjunction will be pretty tight. It'll get up to 5 degrees. I'm looking here as Uranus goes to 22, then it goes to 23 while Pluto's moving backwards. So the closest it'll be is a difference between 23 and 27. So it'll be at its closest 4-degree orb, which is a pretty nice little introduction to what we'll see next year after the Uranus retrograde, which is another 6 months. It's usually until, so it's August 28th, 2023 of this year, 23 degrees. Taurus, back to 19 degrees, January 22nd. It'll go forward again, starting at 19 degrees. So we'll revisit these points again. 20 degrees, 21 degrees, 22 degrees, etc. These will come up again. Uranus brings revolutionary change. This is it's gradual, but it's profound. So you will notice it slowly, but you'll notice it. It brings a desire to break free from patterns and restrictions. And it's a perfect time for us to shed habits and addictions or outdating or limiting belief systems. At 21 degrees, this is a degree of health and healing and growth. There does seem to be a lot of emphasis of this 21st degree this year, so definitely pay attention to what you're consuming, what you're putting into your body, and how it's impacting your first home, your body, your temple. Are you treating that with honor? What ingredients? Can you look down to a chemical level and see what might be causing the inflammation? There's a lot there. Depending on how sensitive you are, there's a lot there. So like we said, Uranus is the planet of revolution and change, but it has good intentions. It wants to liberate us from things that restrict us or hold us back, aligning us with that soul consciousness. It brings this transit, this trine with Pluto, brings a stronger, more powerful intuition and ability to not only sense, but tap into that collective unconscious. So Uranus is that collective network of ideas and information. It's the highest evolution of Gemini and Virgo, also Mercury ruled, but also Libra, the air sign next to Virgo. Those two are very similar. You'll find patterns there. That highest level of consciousness of the use of that air or ether element to make connections happens at an unconscious level in Aquarius and Pisces, being the very next sign in the zodiac, that general collectiveness, the tapping into the spirituality, the afterlife, all those other realms, depending on how open one's mind and intuition are, that being the collective consciousness, the whole thing, the big picture. This transit also brings more charisma and personal power, especially with what we have going on in Leo. Mars in Leo brings a lot of charisma and oomph and pizzazz. So with this happening in Taurus, Uranus in Taurus, these evolutionary and revolutionary changes are directly impacting our money, our banking systems, our resources, our relationship with and treatment of Mother or planet Earth, and our personal values, how we define our own resourcefulness, as Pluto transforms how we define success, and Jupiter in Taurus help free us from the trappings of hustle culture, teaching us to attract and to work smarter, not harder. We have themes of right relationship with the Sun, Juno, Mercury, and Cancer. So how are we showing up in our long-term commitments, especially those involving our family? And with Mars, Pallas Athena, Black Moon Lilith, and Venus, showing us where we're giving our power away. This is asking us to question, how are we in relationship not only to ourselves? Leo is a lot of self-love there. But how does this then also project and affect outward relationships, our one-on-one relationships romantically and with business partners? That 7th house, ruled by Libra and Venus, you can really see a lot of your 12th house karma, a lot of that 12th house Piscean, the emotional stuff that we still cling to. What is unresolved there plays out significantly from the 12th house into your 7th house one-on-one relationships, be them romantic or platonic. It's that mirror effect. Maybe we're coming into more awareness of what that soul purpose is, or even who that soulmate might be that we want to commit to in the long term, or if we're not aware of who the person is specifically, maybe the energetic patterns that we know we want versus the ones we know we deserve better. With Venus at 22 degrees, this is a master number, 22, associated with Capricorn energy, building something for the greater good. If you're like me and have this in your chart, you probably have a lot of Capricorn energy, and you probably know it's your soul purpose to build something that impacts the greater community, the common good. Mars nearby within 3 degrees at 25 degrees. They're aligned in the late degrees of Leo for an entire month. So they've been in a tight conjunction within a 5-degree orbit, standard deviation, since the last major lunation, the new moon at 26 degrees of Gemini on Sunday, June 18th. For those past 2 weeks, to this full moon, and now for the next 2 weeks, remain until the next new moon, which is at 24 degrees of Cancer, Monday, July 17th. This is guiding us on how to integrate or balance our internal divine masculine energy, yang, yang, or pursuing energy, with our divine feminine, yin, receptive, or more attracting energy. It's asking us to open our hearts, to recognize where we might have a blocked heart chakra, and to release blocks to our intuition, creativity, and creative self-expression. We're asked to heal in relationship with one another. We must first balance those inner divine masculine and feminine energies that exist within each and every one of you, depending on how, no matter how you identify, those energies exist within you in different amounts. We're called to balance that to the best of our abilities, so that we can manifest an equally balanced partner, but one that we want, right? So if we're not who we want to be and we're not aligned with who we know we are, but we're not actually doing the work to get there and be that in the 3D, we're just thinking about it and dreaming about it, well, we're going to keep attracting mirrors, magnets, human magnet syndrome. I'll put that book in the description. Humans are mirrors. They're magnets. They reflect back onto us where you are in your own development. So depending on how deeply codependent or deeply narcissistic an individual is, the taker, the giver at extreme levels, they will attract a partner that is equally toxic but on the other side of equilibrium. The goal is to, through consciousness and awareness, through really working on your own energy and how you're showing up and ways that you could employ boundaries to not block yourself but protect yourself in an equal and healthy way, to then attract those fulfilling relationships that your soul longs for. At least that's how I did it. So when I was unhealed and still blind to my own internal patterns, my self-limiting beliefs and trauma, to be completely frank with you, I attracted not only friends, but especially romantic partners who ended up to be just like my mother. Narcissistic, unable to take personal accountability for the natural consequences of any of their behavior, and instead looking for a scapegoat or someone that they can project that responsibility, that emotional burden onto. That's a narcissist. So they project that work, that karma, onto someone close to them because they were emotionally stunted at a young age due to their own trauma that they haven't healed, they've avoided, and are now projecting and spreading. Do you see? They project this elsewhere, hoping to make it somebody else's problem, somebody else's responsibility. And they may even use the word to create rumors and spread gossip and try to ruin your reputation and control you through other means. I might be a slow learner because it took me 30 years to really fully see this pattern in other people. Maybe it's because of my upbringing, where my primary caregiver, the person who had custody of me 60% of the time, was a narcissist with borderline personality disorder who intentionally, emotionally manipulated me to get me to do whatever she wanted at all times. A deeply unhealthy and enmeshed situation that I will talk about in small doses over time. She is, at the end of the day, still my mother. She is still alive. I do not wish to affect her reputation or her in any way. This is simply my story, and I will talk about it as detached and stoically as I can to help others. I've always known since I was a child. There came a point when I was journaling all the time. I've always been a writer, and I was 19, and I remember I was home, I guess it was freshman year of college, and I was reading through my old journals, probably during cancer season, feeling really sentimental being at home, going through all that stuff, and really just realizing how much pain those words held, and making a conscious decision that I wanted future Jen to be happy, so let me just destroy everything. And I did. I know you can sigh with me. I destroyed everything. And it didn't help future Jen. It led to avoidance patterns and that trauma projecting in my interpersonal relationships, not only romantically, but personally friendships, imitation mother figures that I would pick up at various work environments. There were a lot of patterns that I've got a lot of Virgo energy, and Virgo and Leo both learn through like very pattern-oriented ways. There's attention to detail. Those patterns are meant to teach you. It's like the universe or God or whatever you believe is up there, and it really doesn't matter what the personal values are based on as long as they're aligned with what you believe and are focused on the general common good. They aren't exploiting anyone, or it's down to the intentions. So at that time, I still believed I could fix other people and that my love was powerful and strong enough to heal those around me, the fantasies of someone with a lot of Neptune or Pisces energy. But in reality, I was manifesting people who were just like my verbally and emotionally abusive mother, a highly manipulative person. That was until I became aware of the common denominator in my problems, which was me. I had to look at how I was showing up in these relationships, and that was as somebody who didn't fundamentally believe that they were worthy of love or felt like they were enough. They were used to an environment where they constantly had to prove through juggling multiple jobs or burning the candle at both ends or getting perfect grades that they were enough and worthy of receiving the same care that their peers, parents seem to freely give. When you grow up in a situation like that, and I'm not seeking sympathy, I'm not seeking pity, that doesn't do anybody any good. What I'm simply seeking is spreading awareness of that pattern, because keeping people small doesn't do anything to benefit them in the past. And what these transits are ultimately teaching us are ways that we allow others, where we give our power away, we allow others to keep ourselves small, where we've built up this hard exterior, this crab shell, these thick walls, and now we hide behind them because we think that they're keeping us safe, but in reality they're keeping us aloof or completely emotionally detached, or maybe we've even gotten to the point where we've dissociated. We're falling into the more dark triad path where I haven't been there myself, so I don't fully understand how that energy seems to work, but when you choose shadow, you seem to become shadow. And the more that my mother, I watch it happen right before my eyes, the more my mother chooses revenge, whether it's my father or whoever has slighted her most recently. Whenever I watch her choose to seek revenge instead of to take the high road and just, let it go, it shows me that it sends her further into this narcissistic pattern where it's always somebody else's fault. It's always somebody else's problem. It's never, I said this, it made you feel uncomfortable, I am sorry. I'm sorry you're so sensitive. I'm sorry you can't take a joke. Those are non-apologies. That is not, I'm sorry, I was trying to be funny. The joke obviously flopped like a dead fish. I apologize, as I did not intend to hurt your feelings. Some people honestly don't know how to do that, and I have encountered very many of them. I don't know that these people are fundamentally evil. I do know that they are so detached from their authentic selves that they live in the shadow. And when people hold you to these past projections of yourself where you behave maybe in the shadow, I know because I've been there myself as well, it is really hard to break free of that projection that other people hold you to. And depending on how sensitive you are, it really is a matter of knowing, first and foremost, figuring out who you are, what that soul purpose is. If you need help, I do personal natal chart readings. We can focus specifically on the work that you're meant to do in this lifetime. If you're feeling lost, there are many different ways we can do it. I can do a chart, you can read it. We can book hourly sessions. We can hide behind tarot cards. It's not really hiding, it's just whatever you're comfortable with. Those are all tools, different mediums for tapping into what messages resonate for you. Because when you unearth what resonates for you, you can start to get behind and dig into those patterns and maybe those emotions that for some of us with a lot of water energy, very easy, very open. I share what I'm comfortable sharing. I hold back what I'm not comfortable sharing because it's not healed yet, and I know where I can and can't be manipulated and what's vulnerable. So I want people to reach this same level of personal empowerment to establish healthy boundaries. And through these videos, as we enter the next year and a half where we'll be really answering, our egos will really be shedding a lot of the same things that I shed while the South Node's in Libra. I'm happy to share as much as I can along the way that might help others who are going through similar situations on either side of that imbalanced relationship or situation. So back to this story, I fell for a young man who had a very badly blocked heart chakra. And I should have known when he told me he was a Leo and that he wasn't creative, that there was something wrong. I even came close to joking about it once, and I'm glad I thought better of myself, because I never in any way ever intended to hurt him. I only wanted to help and assist him in evolving and leveling up, because what I saw in him, what I thought I loved, that's probably now just a trauma bond. I saw a beautiful soul with so much potential, and it was the mask he was wearing and who he was pretending to be. But I know what I saw, and I know what I felt, and I know that that person is capable of doing the work and stepping into that full power. And if they're watching, I wish them luck on the way. They have all the positive vibes I can provide. So this young man knowingly and intentionally lied to me and misled me. He was using me to fill his cup emotionally while he did whatever he wanted, hiding a secret cocaine addiction and sleeping around behind my back. Meanwhile, I had, at the time, been really religious, and I had journaled daily to God. I really thought, after all the years of hard work and consciously working to absolve what I was conscious of, my karma at the time, and it does come in different layers. People really are blind to a lot of this. That's why we have to have grace. I thought he was the one I had prayed for. He was also the one who had appeared in my dreams. Months prior to meeting him, I had repetitive dreams of us at the beach, cancer season, I guess, him holding me, and it was his eyes and his embrace that felt so familiar, the eyes on the day we met. And it was this instantaneous connection that I really fell for. But part of it was my own role in the relationship. All of these I maybe being a little too off the deep end with the religiousness and the spiritual, balancing some of the logic, it caused me to put him on a bit of a pedestal and to really idealize not only him, but the relationship. And it really did feel like a soulmate connection. And unfortunately, I fell for every word. And there are some friends that I've now lost because they and my family tried so hard to get me to see what maybe I couldn't see, or maybe I just didn't want to see. But when you really look at the lack of integration in a person's behavior, so they're saying something, Jenny, I want to get there. Jenny, I want to be in a relationship with you. But really, they're fooling around behind your back every weekend and doing coke with their friends on daddy's boat. That's not behavior that's aligned. My mother called it from the very beginning. You're a weekday girlfriend. You're convenient when he's in town, but when he's out of town, he dissociates and he does what he wants. She doesn't think she's psychic, but sometimes I think she is, because she really took me 9 months to fully figure out who he was. And I found out exactly what I prayed for and asked in the end. Who is this person? And he revealed exactly who he was. So after 9 months of yo-yo dating, on and off again, those were the hardest 2 months of my life while we were separated. I stopped eating normally and taking care of myself. I realized you're the person for me. All of that bullshit that can sound really exactly what we want to hear. I want your help decorating for Christmas because I want you to move in one day. They're just telling you what they think you want to hear so that they can maintain the upper hand, the power. Anyone that's focused on maintaining control or power, they're not ready for you. They got some stuff to work out. Let that be another red flag. So after 9 months of yo-yo, on and off again dating, and it wasn't all together, there is a lot of gaps in there and a lot of second guessing and a lot of anxiety on both sides that I'll get into. He was cooking for me 4 nights a week, trusting me enough to let me into his home. Then he calls me, after first dangling his 4 tall blonde options, after reminding me that he never really had an attraction to brunettes, and that I was never really his type, that he always preferred tall blondes. So after trying to subtly devalue me, one was his mortgage lady who I guess baked him cookies from scratch, so he felt like he needed to tell me that she had dropped off, and do you think she likes me? And same thing with his most recent employee, a hire that was around his age, fit all the molds of what he was looking for, the tall, young, blonde, blue eyes, family had money, apparently daddy of the person that I was trapped in this toxic cycle with. Daddy decided that he wanted to cover her master's degree, so he was now asking me, she asked for a letter of recommendation, Jenny, do you think she likes me? Trying to plant little seeds of insecurity and doubt and just subtly insinuating things, the way that narcissists love to do these games that they love to play. And then he tells me, when he calls me up out of the blue, Jenny, remember me telling you why I don't have any female friends? Well, this is why. They all fall in love with me in the end. I was just using you for sex for 9 months. I'm done now. Click. Yeah, that's the thanks you get for trying to fix or heal somebody by giving them awareness, light, and love, and trying to accept them for both the light and shadow, who you saw or who they were able to show you who they were. That is the thanks you get for that investment of your time, energy, and love. And I know that's a karmic soulmate because I know that a true twin flame, somebody who incarnated from the same soul as me, would never intentionally manipulate or use somebody for their own personal gain or advantage. It's possible in past carnations that I have done that, and that's why perhaps I've faced karma in this lifetime where I received it in a victim scenario where I put myself in a disempowering situation because I couldn't take off the blinders. Squares to Neptune, especially Mercury square Neptune, take off the blinders, falling for illusion and delusion. There's a lot of, it's two parties. It takes two to tango in these toxic situations. And these transits are all about increasing our awareness to how we show up on either side, whether we're the one getting disempowered or we're the one doing the taking and the disempowering. We're going to cut here because I have a client.